Coming up on this week's edition of the Mindset Podcast, episode 173, we talk about the JFK assassination 50 years on, the Obama's Medal of Freedom, barred from the JobCentre, and is the state an institution of theft, and so much more. Here's the music.
I bid you welcome.
BBC News from BBC World.
This is an NBC News special report.
This is a CBS News special report.
Hello, a very good morning. You're watching BBC News with Carrie Gracie and Simon McCoy.
From ITN News at 10.
Hello, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you may be here on this wild, wacky, and sometimes disturbing world of ours. This is the Mindset Podcast, coming at you. I'm Gareth in Los Angeles, California, and joined once again, sprinkled throughout the globe, we have our usual panelists. We immediately shoot 5,000 miles across the ocean to London, and the one, the only, Mr. Alex Faith. Hello, Alex.
Welcome to London, Gareth.
How you doing, man?
Not too bad. A little bit of a sniffle, but only a little one.
It seems like...
It's turning into that time of year. You wouldn't know about it anymore.
No, I know about it. It seems like forever since we've last spoken.
It does seem an eternity plus a day.
It's been a while, huh?
Yeah, it's been quite a few weeks now, hasn't it?
Yeah, but we didn't have a show last week because shit came up.
It does.
As it does, in life. And then the week before that, we did have a show, but shit came up for you, and you couldn't make it. But finally, the stars have aligned, and we're back.
Yeah, Comet Ison has passed into alignment, and now I can come back on again.
Dave, by the way...
there's so many things that seem to have been happening.
Oh, way too much, yeah. Did you see Comet Ison, by the way? Did you get out and have a look at that thing?
Not with my naked eye, Gareth. What is a non-naked eye anyway? What does that mean? What about is that a redundant word? What about just using the word eye?
Exactly.
Just all these extra words. I couldn't see it with my eye yet. They do say, what is it they say? They say something about it's actually getting brighter. That's it. It's gone. I was listening to I think it was Richard Hoagland the other day, and he was saying within a few days it gained 17 times the brightness as it got closer to the sun, which is just really strange. And a similar thing apparently happened with Comet Elenon before as well.
Right, yeah.
So if you're in the right place, I think this on the northern hemisphere, I think you need to be up early in the morning. And
it's only
if it keeps getting brighter, you might just see it.
Yeah, but it's only for like a couple. It's going to be gone pretty soon if it hasn't gone already by the time we.
Yeah, but then it's going to come back again.
Yeah, in 10,000 years or some shit.
No. Soon, next year, early next year, it's popping around the sun. And it's on a I
thought it was like a 10,000 year orbit or some shit.
No, it's going towards the sun. It's going to flip around the sun if it goes as they say, and then it will head back again out to space, and then we won't see it again probably
for a long time.
Probably die.
So then we'll all be dead the next time it comes around. But the naked eye, you got to see it with your naked eye.
Well, just the eye. It's like getting on a plane. You don't get on a plane, you get in a plane. So
yes.
These words, what are they? Preheat your oven. No, you don't preheat. You just heat it.
Right.
That's what you got to do.
Exactly.
Stop it with these words.
Well, speaking of naked, let's shoot straight up to Oxfordshire and say hello to Mr. Ben Emlyn-Jones. Hello, Ben.
Oh, Gareth, let me just get my clothes on a minute. Naked is not... I was naked, actually. Yeah, I'm just enjoying the heat coming off my candle flower pot arrangement here. Hello, how are you?
Yeah, pretty good, Ben. Now, we just had a major discussion before the show, and I really don't want to open that door again, but I'm very tempted to, because there's a video floating around YouTube about how to heat a room with a flower pot and a candle.
Yeah, we had a bit of a fundamental disagreement here because I don't actually understand how that works. I mean, it may work. If it does, I just don't understand how. Because the heat source is the candle.
Right.
Well, the candle, it's a finite heat source. So how is diverting that energy through a candle or any other solid substance going to heat the room any quicker than just burning a candle in your room?
I can give a suggestion, Ben.
All right, then. Well,
just I agree. The amount of heat you get isn't going to be more. Okay. But if you heat up a flower pot, you're heating greater surface area, and that will come into contact with more of the air. And so you'll be heating more of the air less intensely.
Oh, thank you, Alex. Thank you.
Right. So we're talking about Boyle's law and stuff like that.
God.
Yeah. Okay. That's
Man, I tell you what, dude, trying to explain something to you is like pulling fucking teeth.
Ouch.
So now, is this issue put to bed now?
I hope so.
Okay.
I don't know. I just made that up. Hopefully it's right.
Sounds perfectly logical and rational to me, Alex.
More flower pots, the better it is.
Flower power. You should change.
You're
right. Change your name to Bill, and then we'll have Bill and Ben and the Flower Pot Man.
Where's Weed?
Well, speaking of weed, let's go talk to Reeves. Hello, Reeves.
See, now what Ben's done is he's ruined my theory about magic dust and King Arthur's
Reeves.
berries. That's what heats the flower pots.
Nothing else. It is the spirits. The spirits heat the flower pot,
flowers.
Reeves. It is the spirits from the ether. So how you doing, Reeves?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. Yeah, keeping busy. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, selling a few cars and shit. buying a few rings. Wearing a big coat.
So how's your move? Now, listeners, if you notice, Reeves hasn't been on the show for a couple of weeks, mainly because he's been in the midst of a move.
Relocation.
And for those of you that have moved houses or apartments or flats or whatever the case may be, you know that it is a chronic pain in the ass with 1,000,001 things to do. So how'd it go, Reeves?
Yeah, it went. That's all I'm going to say. No, it was all right. We got it all done. I muscled everyone together and we chucked all of my shit in the van and
Excellent.
Off we went. But yeah, it's all right. It's quite nice here, actually.
Very
Big
cool.
old 18th century mansion, and I've got my own little pad in it. So I
And
haven't seen any ghosts yet, but it was incredibly cold at night.
You got to, less of the flower pot comes in, but you got to get a ghost, dude, because then you can talk paratalk.
I want to wake up and see like some kind of butler geezer stood at my bed. That would be brilliant. Or maybe some sort of lady walked through the wall.
That'd be awesome, yeah. Yeah, very
Who
cool.
knows?
Speaking of butlers and ladies, let's shoot straight over to sunny Florida, hopefully sunny Florida, and say hello to Joe Dunn. Hey, Joe.
Hey, Gareth. Hey, everybody. It is sunny here. Thanks for asking.
Is it hot?
Yeah. No, it's actually cooled down. It feels good.
It's freezing over here, dude. It's 49 degrees in L.A. right now.
Yeah, that's pretty cold.
Oh, 48 degrees.
It actually might get down to the 50s. It might get down to the 50s tonight, and then the high about 75 or 80.
Yeah.
It's actually really nice right now. So if you guys want to come visit, I come on down.
Yeah, it's early in the morning here. It gets really chilly, and right now it is early in the morning. The sun is just coming up over here, so it's a little chilly in my little cave here in Mindset Studios. It's kind of freezing right now. I got my hot coffee to warm me up. But speaking of the real cold, I mean, we don't know what the fuck we're talking about when we're talking about cold. So let's shoot straight up to the icy windswept plains of Canada and say hello to Trevor. Hello, Trevor.
Good morning.
How you doing,
The
man?
permafrost is just starting to melt over my house, and it's you guys, I'm laughing. You guys are like, oh, I'm like, it's minus 20 Celsius here right now.
Holy shit!
It's been like that for a month.
Are you serious? It is that cold?
Yeah. I'd have to have quite a few candles and flower pots around my house. It's just nonstop snow since the end of October, and
oh man,
yeah, it's it's cold, man. So
yeah, we don't. I mean, you've beat us all, dude. We don't know the meaning of the word cold until we talk to Trevor.
It's like, I think that's where Americans drew the border too. They're like, oh fuck, it's just this is where we'll put it. It's too cold.
It's too cold up there. That's it. We're done.
That's minus 20. Oh, yeah, it'll actually hit minus 40 come January.
Oh my god.
Are you trapped inside?
I don't know. I'm not. Oh man, I'm inside. I've been sick for like every other day. I wake up, I feel good, and then the next day I feel shitty. And yeah, like I'm inside. I opened the front door yesterday. I'm like, nah, forget it, shut it. Yeah. I'm going back. I'm taking my nap on the couch. And
wow, that's
yeah,
real cold.
It sucks. And the older I get too, the worse I hate the winter time because I'm not 18 and as flexible and I guess as I used to be, so I can't ski as well. And
yeah, that's not the spirit, Brother Porter.
I know. Well, I'll tell you, I still go out in the mountains. I took my brother. My brother came up here, and I took him out on my Bigfoot trail. So, He was like, cool, but he wore his running shoes. I'm like, oh man.
Yeah, it's gonna be cold.
So that wasn't that's a typical. That's funny. It's a Canadian thing. My brother put on his running shoes, and I know. Okay,
why would he do that? Why would he do that?
Because he's going running.
Because Canadians are weird, man. We'll put on all the warm gear, and then these running shoes will work good, eh?
I don't think they would work that well in the snow.
No, they don't. They don't. So, but yeah, so it's cold up here, and I don't know. Fuck, every other day I wake up, I'm like, damn, what's this cough going on here? It's like it won't.
Trevor, hospital porters are supposed to be ageless. We get born. We as soon as we're 18, we become hospital porters, and then we don't ever get old until we retire. You know what?
I know. You look at hospital workers, and it's like, wow, you look fantastic. I'm like, I think they're pumping formaldehyde or something
into the air.
It preserves us.
Well, speaking of the weather, I mean, this week I had a brief conversation with somebody about homeless people, and apparently Los Angeles or Southern California is the homeless capital of the United States because the weather is so good here for 90% of the year. Homeless people from throughout the United States flock here. Because, it's a lot nicer to sleep on a nice beach than freezing your ass off, someplace.
Understandable.
So they all kind of migrate slowly, I guess, over time to LA. So we have a huge homeless population here, somewhat because of the weather. Because sleeping rough in nice weather is a lot better than sleeping rough in freezing cold or wet weather. All right, so here we go. Let's get the show going here, get things up and running. First topic I want to get into today, of course, is the 50th anniversary of an event that changed the world. Of course, I'm talking about Doctor Who. No, I'm not. I'm talking about
Doctor Who.
I'm talking about JFK. Now, this past Friday was the 50th anniversary of the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. And this is something that profoundly changed not only world politics and how we viewed political assassinations, but it also gave birth to a kind of cottage industry in conspiracy theory that continues to this day. If you ask anyone about the assassination of President Kennedy, they're probably going to have an opinion as to, was it a lone gunman? Was Oswald the only shooter? Was there shots fired from the grassy knoll? What exactly happened? Are we being told the truth? Are we being lied to? Was this a coup? All of these things come to mind. And I have a clip here because this topic, in fact, was addressed this week on local news media here in LA. And they specifically addressed the conspiracy theories that have surrounded this tragedy, this assassination for the past 50 years. So I'd like to play this clip and then get everyone's thoughts and opinions, not only on the conspiracy theory, but the event in general. So here we go.
The assassination of President Kennedy changed the nation. It also sparked decades of debate on conspiracy theories. Eyewitness News reporter Carlos Granda takes a look at those theories and talks to two people who have investigated the assassination, including a member of the Warren Commission.
November 22nd, 1963. On that cool autumn day, the city of Dallas turns out to welcome President John F. Kennedy and his wife Jackie. The streets are lined with cheering crowds, and as the motorcade turns through Dealey Plaza, 3 shots ring out.
Something has happened in the motorcade route. There's numerous people running up the hill. Something, I repeat, has happened in the motorcade route.
President Kennedy has been shot in Dallas, Texas.
The president is taken to Parkland Hospital, mortally wounded with a shot to the head. Within minutes, the nation is told the tragic news.
President Kennedy has been assassinated. It's official now. The president is dead.
The American people took Kennedy's death personally like a death in the family.
Within a short time, a suspect is in custody, Lee Harvey Oswald, a former Marine who had defected to the Soviet Union and returned. The conspiracy theories begin. Well-known attorney and author Vincent Bugliosi has published a massive book about the Kennedy assassination. He says Oswald had delusions of grandeur.
A squad mate of his in the Marines said that Oswald wanted to do something that 10,000 years from now people would be talking about.
And they are talking about it. In Dallas, at the infamous Grassy Knoll, the area where some believe there was a second shooter. In fact, on any given day, you can find conspiracy theorists talking to visitors.
The verdict isn't out yet if you don't know all the evidence.
Certainly, the shots came from more than one direction. There had to be a conspiracy.
All of us wanted to see if we could find some evidence of a conspiracy.
Back in 1963, Justice Richard Mosk became the youngest staff member of the Warren Commission, which was charged with investigating the president's assassination. He says all the reports indicate Oswald did it without anyone's help.
He was a Marine marksman, and he was a hunter, and he practiced with the rifle prior to shooting Kennedy, and it was an easy shot.
Oswald worked at the Texas Book Depository, where investigators found the rifle that killed the president. Oswald himself was killed just 48 hours after the president's assassination, shot on live TV by Dallas nightclub owner Jack Ruby. For some, that strange twist is more evidence that Oswald was silenced. To this day, polls show a majority of Americans still believe there was a conspiracy. Mosk, however, does not believe it.
Nobody would have entrusted Lee Harvey Oswald, who was a bit of a misfit, or Jack Ruby, who owned a strip club, to be part of an elaborate and well-planned conspiracy. These were not the kind of people you would have in your organization.
Bugliosi says Oswald hated the United States and admired Fidel Castro. It was the height of the Cold War.
When he was aiming at Kennedy, he probably viewed Kennedy as the quintessential representative of a society for which he had a grinding contempt. That when he was firing at Kennedy, he was firing at the United States of America.
And the United States of America would never be the same after that moment. 50 years later, there are still questions, and we're still talking about it. The mystery and the myth of John F. Kennedy will never die. I'm Carlos Granda, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
So there you have it. I mean, they tackled the conspiracy issue without talking about any conspiracy, and the people that they interviewed all said the conspiracy is nonsense. Oswald acted alone. Case closed. End of discussion. And here's the weather. Now, I'm not surprised by that. I mean, all mainstream media will go along with what they're told to go along with. No one's going to do an in-depth investigative report where it fairly and objectively covers all of the information. This report was extremely one-sided. I mean, if you hear the guy they interviewed, before they interviewed him, they said, most people in the United States think that there was a conspiracy, but this guy who wrote this book says there is not. So obviously, you know, everyone is wrong and this fucking retard is right. You know, let's be honest, you know, how is that possible? You know, everyone in the world is wrong, but this one guy is right. So let me get everyone else's opinion on this event that continues to make us think about conspiracy, to question the official story. And in a way, when you think about it, this was the first major news public event which made a lot of people think, wait a second, this does not make sense to me. Ben, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, where do you want me to start? I mean, firstly, this was indeed the beginning of the modern conspiratorial era, which we all are a part of. And I mean, the amount of holes in the Warren Commission report are unbelievable. I don't have time to go into all of them now. But firstly, Lee Harvey Oswald was a man who was the perfect epitome of a traitor, dissident, enemy of the state. He'd gone to the Soviet Union. Firstly, he was allowed to join the U.S. Marine Corps, even though he was a committed communist. He went to the Soviet Union and lived there as a Soviet citizen. Then he came back So he went there and came back, and no one said, well, is this guy an agent or a double agent or a triple agent or anything like that?
You bring up a really good point there, Ben. Let me just...
And this is what people don't even understand.
Just think about this. I'll come right back to you. I just want to throw this out there. Just think about that for a second. Now, this is the height of the Cold War, right? The U.S. and the Soviet Union are not on the greatest terms, right? There's been the Cuban Missile Crisis. There's all kinds of nonsense going on. This dude, a Marine, right, defects to the Soviet Union. And then he comes back, and it's all cool. No worries. Yeah, you get a job at the fucking book depository. Yeah, no worries. Everything's good. How is that possible?
Exactly. This is a guy who threw his passport down on the desk of the Soviet embassy in Moscow and said, I want to join the socialist motherland. Then he went back there and said, can I come home? And they said, yes. Can I bring my wife and child with me? Yes, you can. And then, this is not often acknowledged by many Kennedy researchers, he went and he tries to shoot another bloke. This is before Kennedy. He tries to shoot a man called Edwin Walker with the same rifle he eventually was accused of shooting Kennedy with. And we're supposed to believe that no one kept an eye on this man when Kennedy's motorcade went right past the front of his schoolbook depository where he was working. Bullshit.
Yeah. No,
I mean, I don't know I can't possibly go into all the details of this, but the whole thing is a sham from beginning to end. The fact of the matter is there were 2 pathology reports on Kennedy from the U.S. Navy in Bethesda Hospital, also from the Dallas Coroner's Office, and those 2 reports contradict each other, yet they were both included into the Warren report, and they were both somehow the difference between them were reconciled. And what's more, if you investigate the Warren report, the people who did it at the time, you go to the source data, which way they used it, you'll find witness reports which contradict each other. You'll find witness reports that are struck from the record. You'll find people who are saying after they gave their testimony to the Warren report, I was intimidated by FBI agents to say what I was told to say, which was in line with the official story. So we're supposed to believe that the laws of physics change so that somebody could be shot in the head, but they went, the fact of the matter is it's gruesome to talk about. Kennedy was shot from the front and to the right, which is why his head went back into the left.
Exactly. And that was the only...
It's a complete lie. I remember you Americans, you're trained in firearms. You shoot guns all the time.
This was
in
the
Britain,
thing
we don't know about it unless we've been in the police or the armed forces.
This was the thing that really got me. This is the thing that really got me thinking about this years and years ago when I first saw the Zapruder film. Was that, the book depository was behind the president. So if you're shooting somebody in the head from behind, the back of their head is going to pop off and they're going to fall forward. But when you look at the film, the reverse happens. The front of his head comes off and he falls back.
Yeah. What's more, he was shot with a lead ball bullet, which it flattens when it hits the target, and you can see this in the 3rd bullet because it blows his bloody head apart. It's like a decapitation.
Yeah.
Yet we're supposed to be told that the bullet he had before that in the magazine went through his back just below his nape. It emerged from his chest just below his throat. It hit Governor Connolly in the armpit. It travelled all the way down his arm. It came out by his wrist. And it ended up by his thigh.
And in perfect condition.
And it was in perfect, yeah. This was not an armor-piercing bullet. Because if it had been...
The magic bullet.
Yeah, it was the pristine bullet. It just appeared at the bottom with a few scratches on it. And the forensic examination by the Warren Commission said that was the bullet. But the thing is, the Warren Commission was a fraud from beginning to end.
All right, Ben, let me get some other people's opinions and thoughts on this.
Sorry, I'll shut up about it.
It's okay. No, that was good. Let's talk to Joe. Joe, what are your thoughts on this? I mean, I know you're right here. You're in the United States. You've seen this on the news. The memorial they did on Friday. All the stuff leading up onto it. What are your thoughts on the 50th anniversary of the assassination of President Kennedy?
Yeah, it's definitely big news here. It's an important event. But, it's beyond my time and when it happened. But yet when you grow up learning about it, you can't help but question it. It's so, to me, the evidence is so obvious.
Well,
that's what got me. And I wonder what the younger people today think that when they learn about it? Do they question it? Do they see the evidence here that Ben brings up? I mean, it's so fascinating.
Well, it's beyond all of our time. I mean, there's nobody on the show today that was alive when President Kennedy was assassinated.
Yeah, and you always hear everybody say, "Well, where were you at when this happened?"
Right. I mean, our where were you when it happened is 9/11, right?
Exactly.
For the generation previous, I mean, it was the Kennedy assassination. Everyone can say, "Oh, I was doing this when I heard about it." But yeah, that's a good point. I mean, young people growing up today, it's ancient history. It's akin to talking about Lincoln being assassinated, right? Because it's in the past. It's in the distant memory. I think most young people today would be like, they could care less.
Yeah, and I kind of agree with that, but I think there's still people out there that will want to learn about this.
Sure.
The evidence is there. But I had a couple of points about the clip. It's very interesting.
Yeah, go ahead.
About the Soviet Union. And one thing that popped out to me, who today is over in the Soviet Union, sort of? Edward Snowden. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, it's not the Soviet Union anymore, but
I know, but still,
yeah,
it's still kind of that same kind of thing where he is over there. Remember, because he went over there. He was a communist, and then also the guy said, "Oh, well, they don't have these kind of people in this kind of mission to do something like this." I disagree with that.
Yeah.
If you look at the terrorists today, you would say the same thing about them. Some of the crazies they have that they try to do take out these targets and things like that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's kind of what I thought about it.
Yeah. Interesting. So let's see, Trevor, what are your thoughts being someone who's close to the United States, but not an American?
Well, Ben just shed a ton of new information for me. The only thing I can add is I've fired everything from a .22 to an M16. So my experience with a gun is usually when it hits a target, it'll be like a 1-inch hole in the front. Well, that's with an M16. And the back will be huge. Like usually, it's like a pyramid. It's a small in the front where the bullet hits, and then the back, it's just huge. So that's about all I can add.
So
my knowledge of the gun.
So you're familiar with firearms. You fired all kinds of weaponry.
I fired. I had the privilege of firing. I don't know if it's much of a privilege, but I like guns. So I had an actual U.S. federal issued ammo and whatnot for an M16. I won't say where I got it and all that, but anyways,
right.
And I tell you, when it hits a target, it's just a small little hole in the front, and you go to the target, and the back's gone.
Yeah.
So
So Trevor, how many people at the mall did you kill with that gun?
Oh,
I'm kidding. Kidding.
Wait a minute. No, nobody.
So now you've seen the Zapruder film, right? You've seen the footage, the gruesome footage of the president being shot.
I saw the best footage I've ever seen. It was this week. Someone broke it down frame by frame, and to me, it looks like I don't know any. See, Ben's really got a lot more info. He could probably correct me on it, but it looks to me like the bullet hits the back of the head and the front blows up. Because to me, that's how a bullet. Like if I shot someone in the head, the front's going to have a little hole, but the back would blow right up.
Yeah.
Or if I hit the back of the head,
but look at the movement of the body, though. The movement of the body. If you hit someone in the back, your body would go forward, not go back.
That's the difference. I mean, Trevor, what you're saying is right. I mean, you would get a small entry hole and you would get either. What you'll find is in target practice, and you'll see this on YouTube, if you see pictures of people shooting melons and eggs and other objects, you get entry and exit holes more or less the same. Usually there's more in the exit hole area, which is bigger. But the thing about it is it's the actual inertia that's the point when it comes to Kennedy. The fact that the movement, the force, you can actually see in the Zapruder film, you can see the force being exerted on his head.
Doesn't make sense.
And it's not coming from behind.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree. I remember years ago seeing it and thinking, well, wait a second. The book depository is behind him, and he went back.
I mean, this is an important point to realize. I mean, if you were shooting at Kennedy, you wouldn't even shoot when he got into Dealey Plaza. You would shoot from the front when he was coming up Houston Street.
Yeah.
When there was no, I mean, you Americans, you know about this because you handle guns all the time. It's about lead. It's about the fact when you shoot somebody, if you're shooting from a long distance, you don't shoot where the bullet is going to arrive. You don't shoot where the target is when you fire. You shoot it when the target is when it's going to arrive. So it's kind of a match. It's a meeting point between the bullet and target in space.
Well, I always
you have to imagine.
I always remember
lead.
that
you lead the target. Now in Dealey Plaza, there was at least 1 foot lead, which could easily miscalculate. But when he was coming towards you on Houston Street, why didn't he just shoot into Kennedy's face? Because he was right in front of him in terms of the window. The window of the 6th floor of the school depository faced onto Houston Street. Well, Kennedy was coming towards him. He had about a minute and a half when he just had to pick up the gun and fire. And there was no lead at all. It would be the easiest shot in the world. So why didn't he?
There's that famous skit that Bill Hicks does where he said he goes to the book depository and they have a tour where you can actually go on the tour and you see the sniper's nest where Oswald fired. And it's walled off. Well, it's not walled. It's got like glass, so you can't get in there and look out the window. And he said, which makes sense because if you did, you look out the window, you'd say, no fucking way.
I know, this is the thing.
Let me bring in Reeves here. Reeves, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, all very interesting. Everybody's input is interesting. I tend to sort of the two things that stand out for me are obviously the pristine round. And obviously, the other people that are involved. I mean, we also mustn't forget, we must look towards what kind of President Kennedy was and his political motivations and the people that he was moving around with. And we could be in a scenario of maybe we look to the future to work out the past. I mean, you look at other people that have maybe got a little bit too popular or with certain individuals, and other certain individuals don't like that, and they will sort of cause problems. And one of the ways with a president to get rid of them is just to kill them. I do find also interesting that a vast majority of first-hand witnesses that did see things. For example, I'm sure Ben will correct me. I think it was a woman who witnessed a police officer leaving the scene just after Kennedy was shot, and he was wearing sneakers. I mean, that's kind of not kind of uniform, is it? And that was on the grassy hill just above in front of the car park.
I'm not heard of this myself, Reeves, but I know that a lot of people, a group of police officers heard the shots too, and they ran over towards the big fence at the back of the grassy knoll. It's still there now. Which opened onto a car park underneath the railway bridge.
That's right, yeah. And she watched this individual leave in a vehicle, but when she reported it, it was kind of like you said. She felt that she was being intimidated, not to tell people. They don't want to know. Be quiet about it. You've seen what you've seen, and thank you for your report. And but don't blab about it. And I think a few other people felt intimidated as well. I think there's a lot to this case that you got to remember that Kennedy was an incredibly liked president, and he was incredibly influential. And he wasn't a fan of the Federal Reserve. He wasn't a fan of these corporations.
Right.
He was more of what I would say America's last real president. The one that makes decisions on his own.
That's a common thread there, Reeves, that he was the last real U.S. president. Every president that's come since Kennedy has been firmly controlled by, the powers that be. But let me bring Alex in here and get his views on the whole Kennedy assassination and the 50 years. Now, 50 years have passed. Still rampant speculation on conspiracy as to what really happened, but obviously, officially, nobody's going there. We'll never get the truth. The files are sealed, and they're probably going to stay sealed for indefinitely, if not forever. What's your take on this whole thing, Alex?
I think it's a great topic for people to start to look at when they're getting interested in conspiracies and alternative ideas. Because when you start to look into it, there's so much information, first of all. Like Ben started rattling off like a machine gun, he was, all this information. And I mean, what he said with respect is still a fraction. He would say it's a fraction of what there is out there. And if you start looking into this, you can see how the media lies to you, how they don't talk about certain topics, how official stories don't make sense if you examine them. And again, you can find about politicians and what JFK was on about, and you can compare it to what we have today, to the soap opera today.
Yeah.
And there is so much to be learnt from this. And so I think, first of all, it's a great gateway into perhaps getting closer to the truth, whatever that is. And I've got a couple other quick points on it as well. Just if I just watch the film, the famous film, Zeebrugge film, and all these things, there's two people that I would say, just from looking at that, and this is controversial, who shot him. One is the guy in the passenger seat, or at the front, if you like, and the other one is his wife.
Right.
Right. Now, I'm not saying any of them did it. I don't know who did it for sure. But if I look at it and I examine it, which, I have done in the past, they look to be the people who I would point as the first suspect, not somebody who can't shoot a gun 3 times really quick, as there were many, all the things that go against the official story.
You've been watching Bill Cooper, huh?
Oh, just all of it over the years.
Yeah.
Over the years, you gradually soak it up. And it's like 50 years ago. I mean, it's been all of my life that I've heard different things.
Bill Cooper, when he was alive, was kind of vilified as a mental case, right? The guy is obviously out of his mind. He's talking bullshit, blah, blah, blah. But since his death, people have started to kind of come. I mean, he wrote that book, Behold a Pale Horse, which is a bit of a classic. I'm assuming most, if not everyone on the show today, is either read that book or at least knows of its existence.
I have. Yes, read it.
And there's a lot of stuff in that book which, when it came out, you would read it and be like, oh my God, this guy's a fucking lunatic. And now, 25 years later, you look at it and think, well, hang on a second. Maybe not so much. He was famous in the mid-90s for talking about the driver of the motorcade pulling out a handgun, turning around, and shooting the president in the face. Now, this sounds like madness, right?
Why does it even sound like madness?
Because it sounds insane.
It sounds very rational.
Really? Please
nothing
please
mad
elaborate
there at all to me.
Tell me more.
I just want to jump in here. For that to happen, okay, then we all know that for that to happen, everyone in that motorcade would have had to been in on the conspiracy.
Involved. Yeah, exactly.
Anyone within the vicinity would have had to be in, because I've seen the video. I know what you're talking about, and that guy, if he did have a pistol in his hand, he's one hell of a quick draw.
Yeah. There's also there's a video I saw too where supposedly the Secret Service agents wave off the other ones right before it happens.
Yeah,
that happens.
Stand down.
Apparently the strange arrangements of the Secret Service bodyguards began at Love Field, because as soon as the motorcade left, some of them were running around making hand signals. And you can see this on some videos. I mean, it's there's some suspicious elements right from the start of the motorcade, which began a certain time later. But as far as William Greer, the driver, goes, I mean, Cooper, I've got a lot of respect for Bill Cooper, but I can't see. It seems to be like a flash of light. It's like he put his hand over his shoulder with a pistol and he shoots. Well, you can't see him actually turning around and shooting.
Ben,
you can't even see what he's looking at.
Ben, what do you think about the option of Jackie shooting him?
I've not seen that at all, Alex. I don't know anything about that.
Just she sat next to him, she turns, she grabs, she shoots.
I've not seen it. I mean, Jackie had reason to be pissed off with Kennedy.
No. Okay. Let's.
He wasn't the best husband in the world. He was a bit of a ladies' man. But
hang on, Ben. Sorry. Well, the first thing is I'm not saying that she did, but the second thing is you got MK Ultra and all these other things. Okay, she doesn't have to be pissed off with him. She can be controlled, in theory. Yeah.
Yes.
And she's. If you're going to shoot someone, you want to be close to them, preferably. You couldn't be any closer than that. Yeah. And if you look at the footage, I don't know. I think she would have to reach into. She would have to reach. She's in the wrong position. I mean, if Greer would be a better candidate for that kind of thing. But my guess is somebody from the grassy knoll simply shot him the same way that Oswald is supposed to be done, with a high-powered rifle. Except he used a rapid-fire weapon, and we know that there's a possibility of a rapid-fire weapon because people in the crowd watching, there were thousands of witnesses to this. It wasn't just some guy on his own with a handful of witnesses, like in the tunnel with
Princess Diana. I mean, there was a huge crowd of people. They said, I heard a rapid-fire weapon coming from the grassy knoll, which you would expect. Because
it goes back to what I said earlier. The one witness saw a man in a police uniform, and she said the only strange thing about him was he had soft shoes on. And there are also the other witnesses that said they'd seen disturbance, they saw puffs of smoke. Leaves moving on the grassy knoll.
There's that famous photograph. There's the famous photograph of the grassy knoll that somebody was taking. Obviously, there's a lot of people taking still photographs. There's only a few people actually filming, but there's a lot of people taking still photographs as the president went by. And some people took photographs as it was happening. And one of them, in the distance, you can see the grassy knoll with like a puff. And that photograph has been enhanced, and you can see, I think there's like 3 people behind the grassy knoll, one holding a rifle with like a puff of smoke. Now, this photograph has been enhanced. When you look at the standard unenhanced photograph, you can kind of see something, but nothing specific. It's only when they've enhanced it and they say, well, look, this is a guy standing right here, and you go, oh, okay, now I see it. So whether or not that's accurate, I don't know. And back to Bill Cooper, it's very much like, in many ways, he's front-loading you by saying that the driver turns around and shoots him. Because when you first watch the Zapruder footage, you don't see that. You don't see that at all. But the second Bill Cooper says, and then he turns around and you watch it again, you're like, oh, yeah, okay, I can kind of see that.
But I got to say, Gareth, that there are 2 things here. But the first one is that whatever theory you take, okay, and we could argue till the cows come home, all the different things you've seen and viewpoints and whatever. One thing I think we are all agreeing on is that it wasn't Oswald. The chances of him being able to do what he did with the weapons, the angles, and everything else, blah blah blah.
I don't know about that.
Just that's a ludicrous story, and that's the official one.
Not only that, Alex, when you think about it. Also, he would have had to run up the stairs from the pavement where he was standing, watching, and there's photographs showing Oswald standing watching. You'd have to run up the stairs within about 3 seconds.
Yeah. But the point I'm getting at is the details. The details don't matter. Because as soon as you realise that the official story is a lie, and that's the one we're kept being told all the time, the details don't matter. They're not important. The point is you're being lied to.
Yeah, no, I would agree.
For 50 years.
Yeah. And as to whether or not Oswald was involved or not, I don't know. My feeling is that he was involved, but he did not act alone. There were several other conspirators and shooters involved. But I agree with what Alex just said. Regardless of the details, what we're being told officially by the news organizations and by the government is fucking nonsense. Just blatant lies.
Maybe he was part of a group and he was taken on by covert government agents, and from day one he was a dead man because they wouldn't let him walk away.
Well, he's a patsy, and he said that.
He was a fall guy.
He said that.
That's not the official story, is it? The official story is he's a crazed, lonely gunman.
He's a lone gunman.
That's all we're ever told again and again.
Right.
Yeah, but then Jack Ruby was supposedly a crazed lone gunman when he went up to him and shot him, even though Jack Ruby had his dog in the back of the car just parked outside, and he was obviously on his way to take him for a walk. Jack Ruby had popped into the post office just before he had gone to the police station because he'd taken a phone call at home just before he left home to go to the police station. And one of his employees had phoned him and said, Jack, could you please send me a telegram check for my wages? Yeah. And Jack had said, sure. And Jack went to the post office and made that telegram check before he went. And we're supposed to believe there was some kind of premeditation to this.
Hey, Jack, listen, I know you're going to go and kill Oswald, but if you got a spare 5 minutes before you go there, could you send me my paycheck, please? Yeah, sure, no problem.
It's ridiculous. It's ludicrous. And I mean, and I said there's a photograph of Oswald on the pavement seconds before Kennedy got shot. It's possible somebody. I've no doubt somebody shot from behind. If it wasn't from the school book depository, it's from the Dallas County building, which was just to the right of the school book on Houston Street, which was much higher up, which could have provided a better vantage point. From which there wasn't that big tree in the way. That tree was in the way. Do you remember?
I believe that there were three points, 3 gunman points, and from it was everyone at a certain point had to fire their shot, and chances of someone hitting was quite high.
In a normal crossfire formation, there will be 3 shooters.
Yeah.
3, one in the grassy knoll, one behind at the Dallas County building, and one on the other side.
One is
of
bound to get the fatal
Well, that's what it is. They have three because once you have a three, the triangulation, they know that the victim is not going to survive.
Yeah, he's not going to be able to take cover.
If you have three, you've also got a holy trinity.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Well, that's a good point because I mean, it is
to me because what do we end up with now? We have an eternal flame, right? That is lit forever over JFK, which is the Illuminati symbolism.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do we have? Thinking about that, Alex. That's no. You've just brought something up that's. You could say that this this assassination was some sort of ritual.
Yeah.
Well, yes, it was, in my opinion. It was for me. And if you see where we are now, that's exactly what we have in our faces, our nose rubbed in it, and we'll have a free speech zone 50 yards away or whatever. Yeah.
Now,
to show us really that the control is not ours.
I think what Alex mentioned at the beginning, though, as far as this being a kind of gateway drug into the conspiracy world is absolutely true. A lot of people will get involved or they'll be confronted with the Kennedy assassination and conspiracy theories and start researching and reading and thinking and then soon discovering that the official story is just nonsense.
Even to learn about Kennedy and just politics.
Yeah.
And just see the things that he was against and how the world is now.
But it
isn't talked about now.
But it is kind of a foot in the door, though, because you really start thinking like, well, wait a second, and then you step a little bit forward. But before you know it, you're talking about interdimensional UFOs over. You start going down that spiral. You start really because your mind will open up, and you'll soon realize that everything you see and hear on television is fucking bullshit. Just nonsense.
True, well, starting with the simple stuff. I mean, starting with stuff that anyone can agree on. There's even people outside the conspiratorial world. I mean, before you leave aside the moon landings and the UFOs and stuff like that, there's no doubt after Kennedy's assassination, the United States political world took a vastly different turn.
Yeah.
When Johnson was sworn in as president, everything changed.
Right.
The war in Vietnam, which Kennedy had been against, escalated, to use Johnson's own words.
Right.
All kinds of other things happened. I mean, there was this genocidal bombing of Southeast Asia, which went on from Johnson into the world of Nixon, and it just didn't stop. I mean, there's no doubt that if Kennedy had survived, that would not have happened.
Well, the world would be very different. Things would not have taken place. I mean,
firstly, Kennedy in 1964 would probably have won his second term,
right,
which would have taken him up to January 1969. Right, so we may have had a situation in which he would have said a manned moon landing is impossible. We could have had a situation which would have said he could have organised strategic arms limitation talks with the Soviet Union. Certainly the Vietnam War, as we know it, would not have taken place.
There could have been UFO truth. He could have come out and sold the beans.
This is why they killed him, I think. This is the most likely reason why they killed him. It was a combination of reasons, but this is one of them.
And the Federal Reserve closed down.
Oh, yeah, greenback dollars. We could have had greenback dollars in regular circulation, which would have mean that the Federal Reserve would have broken its stranglehold over that country.
Right, yep. Now, he also...
Can I ask a question?
Sure, go ahead.
My English fellow colleagues here. I'm just starting to think, I guess every empire has some kind of assassinations of their Caesars and presidents and leaders. Has there ever been at least maybe in recent history in England, like when the English Empire was huge and strong, did anyone ever assassinate the leaders or whatnot?
Well, it's just happened. There's been many occasions, as you said, Trevor, where leaders have been taken out. They've been killed, and sometimes in dubious circumstances. I don't think ever since, you have to go back to Charles I in 1649 to a point where a leader has been assassinated in such public, in such a public and brutal and bloody way. Maybe the French Revolution is an exception to that.
Okay.
But certainly in the sort of Anglo-American world, in the Anglosphere, you have to go back that far. And now, of course, the beheading, I mean, in a sense, there's many, many ways you can kill someone you don't like. There's many, many ways you can assassinate a leader or head of a corporation or head of various organizations, and it's been done before. But I mean, this was not just a killing. This This
It's a
was
sacrifice.
a public execution, what they did with Kennedy. It was a statement made by the rulers of this world to say, we're not only killing this guy, we're slaughtering him by removing his head, whether it's by axe or by bullet. It makes no difference. It's blood, it's brains everywhere.
Usually,
we're doing it in front of you.
Yeah, usually nowadays,
you can see it all happen. And
Usually,
you can see how powerful we are.
And nowadays, it's unlikely that somebody that high profile would be assassinated, because there's so many other ways you can get them out of the way. Through blackmail or just making shit up, or you can financially ruin them.
Or they would get sick and get cancer and die.
Right. Die quietly.
Like John Smith, leader.
Go ahead, Alex. Hang on a second. Go ahead.
Well, Trevor just asked, was anyone else high profile in the UK been assassinated? Didn't we just mention Diana not long ago?
Right. Yeah. Good point. Yeah. Good point.
Yeah, there's conspiracies around that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of news even this year come out with security guards and that saying or special forces saying they were involved in that, and there was more.
Yeah.
More. I mean, the information just keeps coming out basically.
Allegedly.
And also, sorry, please go, Reece.
I was going to say, yeah, you bring up a thing. Allegedly, there's a special group of men that are not part of the these special services, the SAS. That there's this covert group of men that do all the political assassinations, that or the high-profile people. That they take care of that.
Yeah.
Allegedly, that was what came out this year. Allegedly.
Yeah, I think it has to do with the speed. If you want someone gone ASAP because they're going to do something that you don't like, then you take them out immediately. If somebody is slowly going down the path that you don't like, well, then they can get cancer and die in 6 months or something, or be financially ruined, or some trumped up charge of rape or sexual misconduct can come out and things like that. It's only you got to kill them. Publicly or privately, whatever, like a murder, if they're going to release some things very, very quickly that's going to harm you.
But like Alex said earlier, I think that the Kennedy thing is so huge, it's so massive that you have to look at it from a multi-layered aspect. But it's interesting that it's the whole. You could look at it as not only a statement, not only a world statement to say, we can, those that powers that be, I don't know. I'm only speculating that there's a cabal, a group of people that can say, we can remove anyone, no matter how powerful they are, we can remove them and we can have no consequence.
And that's what it says, Reeves. It really says that, because if these people can kill the President of the United States, that basically means that they can get rid of anybody, and nobody is safe. Anybody
they got
on the
Martin Luther
planet.
King in 1968. They assassinated Martin Luther King in April.
Yeah.
Then a few months later, in June, they killed Bobby Kennedy.
Right.
JFK's brother, who would probably almost certainly become president.
Yeah.
In the following year.
Yep.
Now, recently, just Dick Cheney came out, and he was talking about how he feared his heart pacer would be hacked into.
Yes.
And they could take it seriously. They would take him out that way. So these leaders do have to fear.
But this is how they normally do away with people. John Smith, leader of the Labour Party before Tony Blair was put in his place and became Prime Minister, John Smith suddenly suffered a heart attack at a very convenient time.
Leaders only have to fear if they don't toe the line. If they do to the letter what their masters tell them to do, they're good to go. They got no worries. But if they start thinking, oh, wait a second, this is not, then there's going to be issues. There's going to be problems. Now let's kind of wrap up the whole JFK thing.
I'd just say that they don't need to shoot anyone now.
No, they don't. Yeah.
Because the media is so powerful.
Right.
We have character assassinations.
Exactly.
And that will last. First of it will last after you are dead, after your body is dead.
Right.
And also it has the other benefit from the assassinator's point of view. It's going to make you suffer while you're still alive.
Yeah.
For the rest of your living life. I mean, so it's an even better way to kill someone.
No, I agree. Now, President Kennedy, before he was assassinated, he put together like a ceremonial deal called the Medal of Freedom, where he was planning to bestow medals on people, United States citizens who have worked for peace and freedom throughout the world. Unfortunately, he was assassinated before he could put this into fruition, before he could actually do this. But they kept the process in place. And I guess to coincide with the 50th anniversary of his assassination, President Obama presided over the Medal of Freedom ceremony and handed some medals to people who he deemed to be ambassadors of peace and freedom in the world. And it's very telling as to who these people are. So here's a quick clip, and then we'll talk about it.
Tonight, a special dinner in the nation's capital for the 16 outstanding Americans who received the Medal of Freedom from President Obama today. At tonight's event, Mr. Obama praised President John F. Kennedy, who established the medal. The 50th anniversary of his death is this Friday.
He stays with us in our imagination, not because he left us too soon, but because he embodied the character of the people that he led.
Those honored today for their outstanding contributions came from all walks of life. Talk show host Oprah Winfrey, country music star Loretta Lynn, Chicago Cubs baseball great Ernie Banks, the late Senator Daniel Inouye, represented by his widow, the late astronaut Sally Ride, represented by her life partner, and last but not least, former President Bill Clinton. President Kennedy never had a chance to bestow the Medal of Freedom he created. He died before the first recipients were honored.
I don't get that. All walks of life. They're all fucking multimillionaires. How does that work?
It's called bubble imagination. It's called the bubble scenario. We only look beyond. No, we don't look beyond the bubble. We only look in the bubble.
So what do you guys think about those recipients for the Medal of Freedom?
It's another attempt. It's another thing. Just like when Obama tried to hitch his own identity to Martin Luther King. It's another attempt by Obama to sort of like big himself up and make himself out to be something that he's not. And to try and create an aura of false confidence, which he has no right to have. And it's an insult, actually, frankly, to the memory of Martin Luther King. It's an insult to the memory of John F. Kennedy for him to do this. And he's just, I have no words of contempt for this kind of thing. It really is. It's more than just an act of violence, an act of mental violence, an act of psychological and spiritual violence on everybody who hears these kind of things.
But just think of it, Oprah Winfrey, a country and western singer, a fucking guy who hits a ball for a living with a bat. These people are getting medals for the Medal of Freedom and peace. I mean, am I living in a fucking lunatic asylum? How does this work?
Well, look at it this way, Gareth. Henry Kissinger won the Nobel Peace Prize.
Well, Obama did too. I mean,
nothing's impossible.
I mean, how does this work? And why is it that people are just like, oh yes, oh yeah, oh wonderful, oh thank you, instead of being like, what the fuck is going on here? Oprah Winfrey, what the fuck is she getting a medal for?
But these people are the people's heroes. They are the people that the people worship.
And that's very true, Alex. Yeah, that they are the media, the media moronic masses heroes. That's very true.
There you go. It's very true.
Yeah.
Joe and Trevor, do you have any comments at all about this clip?
Well, I also think too that these leaders today they try to kind of do these things where they want to be noticed, kind of like a JFK was noticed or a Martin Luther King, and they tried, and I think they play off of what has been done before. And like Ben said, they try to identify with that,
right,
and give the false illusion. And I see through that.
Oh yeah, they do. Obama, he's like, he's black, so they figure, oh well, I'll fucking milk this Martin Luther King shit.
Exactly.
I'll hook that up. I mean,
but then you're called a racist if you bring that up.
You call me a racist, Joe?
No, well, yeah. How dare you say this?
But that's what it is. He's jumping on the bandwagon, right? I mean, it's It's if Obama was in a wheelchair, he'd be hopping on the fucking what's the president's name?
Roosevelt.
Roosevelt. He'd be talking about Roosevelt, right? Because he's in a wheelchair.
He would, wouldn't he?
Yeah, of course. It's crazy.
Ironside would definitely get one then.
Yes.
And it's just nothing has changed. So to use these things for your own political gain, to me, is wrong.
Because all these people in power are lying pieces of shit. They don't give a rat's ass about anything but themselves. They are fucks. They are the lowest of the low. They are the shit on my shoes. I don't give a rat's ass about any of them. But having said that, let's take a quick break. We'll be right back. Smoke them if you got them.
Mindset Daily.
Mindset Daily, hosted by Joe Dunn, a twice weekly and sometimes daily wrap-up on the current news of the strange. Every episode will highlight and comment on news stories that have either not made it into the mainstream or just grabbed our attention. Mindset Daily, your bite-sized alternate news fix. You can listen to Mindset Daily at mindsetcentral.com.
Mindset Daily.
You're listening to the Mindset Network.
You can now hear all of the Mindset Central podcasts while on the go with the Stitcher Smart Radio app. On-demand news, talk, and more on your mobile phone. The latest episodes at Mindset Central are always available for you. No syncing needed and no memory or storage wasted. Available on your iPhone, iPad, Android phones, and beyond. Downloading is easy. Go to Stitcher.com or check out your app store. Stitcher Smart Radio, the smarter way to listen to MindsetCentral.com.
I'm just the poor man, outfoxing the rich man. We live in his forest and hunt down his game man. I'm gonna take what I want, I'm gonna get some. You know, until I own this land, I'll never be someone. I'm just the traveler, stuck in the king. Sometimes we get crazy and do awful things. But oh, when the rapture comes, you know we'll all be saved. You don't want the likes of us controlling Hades. Don't try to ride here, 'cause you just might die here. We tied to your saddle.
And we are back. You're listening to the Mindset Podcast, and that was Mack West and the Rapture. Joe, tell us all about Mack West.
Man, that's a great song. The Mack West, their song "The Rapture." It's kind of a Western rock country type blues combination there to me.
Yeah,
all their
totally.
music. So I enjoyed it. It's different, you know, and I like the lyrics in that one. If you heard the lyrics, is really interesting. You don't want the likes of us controlling Hades. That was a good one.
I noticed that guy. Yeah, that line leapt out at me too. I was just listening to it. But this track was played on the latest episode of the Mindset Radio Hour. Is that correct?
Yeah, Mindset Radio Hour episode 45 has just come out. This song is on that, so make sure to check out that episode for music like this.
Excellent.
And this site, actually, you can find this band at facebook.com/MackWestMusic.
There will be a link in the show notes. So, yeah, check out Mindset Radio Hour with Joe Dunn. Joe always does a great job on the radio hour, turning everyone on to some new and usually unheard great music. So check that out if you're in the mood for some new alternate sounds. All right, guys, let's get back into the clips here and talk about some other news items. Now, Alex, you put a bunch of clips in here, and one is kind of leaping out at me. Now, in the UK, for people who happen to be unemployed, there's a thing called the JobCentre, where people are in the beginning kind of voluntary, kind of urged to go there and check out new employment positions, but after a while it becomes mandatory. You got to go there and take care of shit. So something happened, right? Alex, could you kind of fill us in before we play the clip?
It's just another case of the law, whatever the law is, how the law's put in place, and how we're told things by the law. And I'm being vague there because there's been an awful lot of clips or events over the last few weeks of a similar nature. And it's where the police, for example, will come up to you and they'll tell you something. And because they've got the pretty costume on, you accept they're telling the truth, you accept they're knowledgeable and they're correct. And you don't tend to ask the questions of, hang on a minute, who are you working for?
Yeah.
What gives you the right to tell me to do something? What is more to point? What is the law rather than your point of view? Are you telling me the law, or are you just trying to pressure me and put me somewhere? And this is a simple example of somebody who went to a JobCentre, and it hasn't got the whole clip there. I've cut it down. I think at the start there was some, shall we say, public order going on, public order offence sort of thing. Maybe they were swearing and things like that. So the police were called. Okay.
Yeah.
But the whole point of this clip is the police just tell you what to do. And when you really ask, they're not always going to tell you. And they're just going to push you around. And that isn't the role of the police, or it shouldn't be the role of the police.
All right, let's have a listen, then we'll get some discussion going on the subject at hand. So here we go.
Why does it say no filming?
You can't film. They've asked you not to film.
What law?
Listen, right, we've been called, obviously, because there's been some disruption in the job centre.
Yeah.
Right? They've told me what's happened in there. They've asked me to tell you that you're not welcome in the job centre from now.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
So that's what I've come out.
So I'm not welcome in a public place?
You're not welcome.
What law have I broken?
It doesn't matter what law you've
Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't.
So let me get this right, and I'll hold you personally liable for this.
3495. There you go.
3495. Okay. I'm going to hold you personally liable for all the information that you're going to give me now. I can no longer enter this job centre.
Yeah,
because
to go into
right.
the job centre.
Who has asked me?
The security.
Group 4 security. So Group 4 security.
On behalf of the job centre.
So they can have decisions. So Group 4 security. No, I don't want to lodge a complaint. I'm trying to understand, what law have I broken?
It doesn't matter what law you've broken.
Right, so what gives them the authority to say, no, it's not their building, it's our building. I'm not being abusive.
You have inside building.
Who owns this building?
It doesn't matter.
It does matter. Who owns the building? I'm not going off the subject. What you're talking about is I can now not enter a public building.
They can ask you not to enter that.
Under what authority?
Obviously, if you need to use the job centre, they can tell you to use a different job centre.
Under what authority?
Take it up with the job centre.
I don't want to take it with the job centre.
Well, I'm telling you, that's what they've asked me to do.
Has any crime been committed here today? Has any crime been committed here today?
There's a bit of public order, isn't there?
Where?
So, they've
What's
asked
the public
me
order?
to ask you not to go into the building, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to go into it any further.
Okay.
Here.
So you're
if you've got a problem or a complaint with the job centre, you take it up.
So I have to comply. Just use me, officer. Just let me confirm this. I have to comply with the request.
Is it Peter? Is this your paperwork?
No, it's their paperwork. They own that.
It's got your stuff on it. It's got your name and.
They own that now.
So you don't want this back?
No. I've got.
We'll give it back to the job centre.
Okay, but can I just clarify something?
Can I just have your details?
No, I'm not obliged to give you my details.
Why is that?
Because I'm not. There's been no crime committed.
There's been an incident phoned in to us.
I'm not obliged to give you. I'm not obliged to give you my details. If you wanted my details, go in there. They'll give you all my details. But I'm not obliged to give you any of my details. So can I just clarify exactly why I can't come back in this?
I'm not going to keep repeating.
Well,
Nice.
Do you know, because there's been a few videos in particular this week that kind of went viral of a similar topic, and you see people commenting and they're going to say people are idiots, why are they doing these things? And the point is, to an extent, these people understand what the real law is. And the police, they understand. The judges, they understand. The majority of people on the street do not.
Right.
And we are being abused daily by this. And it is sickening, but people are waking up, and these things are happening more and more. People are beginning to, for lack of a better phrase, fight back or demand their rights. I mean, that guy there, okay, whether he was right or wrong, you like him or not, in none of that was he actually told the law of why he wasn't allowed back into that building.
I think I just wanted to clarify that the gentleman in question was speaking to a woman constable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Clearly, she didn't know what
she didn't know what the fuck was going on. She's an idiot.
And clearly, she was in a position where he was questioning her. He was asking questions that she had not been programmed to answer.
Right.
Like when you talk to these salespeople and you start to ask particular questions, and they can only answer what's on the screen in front of them.
Right.
Once you go off of the curve, that you can hear in her voice that she's not confident in what she's saying.
But no, because
Therefore, you
she's
can
not
also hear in her
confident
voice
because
that
she's wrong.
She is wrong, but she's also she doesn't really understand what he's saying. She doesn't understand the questions he's asking.
I know, and I guarantee
answer.
you, in her fucking mind, when this guy was questioning her, she was thinking, "Oh God, oh this fucking idiot! What is wrong with this fucking? Why don't you just listen to me and be done with it? What the fuck is he asking me?"
But also in her mind, she was thinking, "This guy knows what he's talking about."
Yeah.
Shit, I can't answer his questions because I can't answer them because I don't know the questions he's asking.
One by one, more people are questioning the police. And I don't agree with the way they're all doing it. But some are doing it just basically to antagonize.
Just to be dicks, that's not cool.
But there's a real point here that the police should be acting within the law themselves.
Absolutely.
And to do that, to know that, you have to understand some of the law. Right? Know your rights. Get told properly why you're doing something, why you're not doing something. Not have some bloody security agency just tell you to do something and be bullied. Not have the police just bully you. All right?
Well, G4S now are everywhere. Everywhere. Shopping malls, the job centres, any government building is G4S everywhere.
Okay, Reeves, for our listeners who are not based in the UK, explain what G4S is and what they do.
Okay, G4S is a private security, a massive corporate. Worldwide. They basically hire people to offer security services to all different things, events, large events. They did the Queen thing, and then they fucked all that up. They also have people employed in government buildings where they walk around with their shirts on, their G4S. They're basically mobile henchmen.
So they're basically private security.
They have no power. They have no powers of arrest. They have no power at all over anyone. The only power they have is the power that you give them.
The thing is, though, is that we're kind of pre-programmed from a very young age that whenever we interact with someone in one of these costumes, we look at them as an authority figure.
Because the costume is a visual trigger.
Yeah, it's nonsense.
And you see it, and you immediately think, this person is... I say every show I've been on, I can go down the high street, our local town centre, wearing a black coat and black trousers and a clipboard, and I can say, all the children on this side, please, and all the ladies on this side,
and they
please.
do it. They would obey.
I guarantee you that most people will fucking do it.
Yeah. Now, I want to bring Trevor in on this, because I know he has 1,000,001 opinions on this nonsense. So what do you think is going on here, Trevor?
Oh, I'm just, I'll say it. Government laws are nothing more than opinions with guns, and the government has the guns. So when I'm surprised now in America, I'm thinking, God, if you question a cop in the States,
you're done.
They'll beat you 8 ways to Sunday.
You're done. You can't. What that guy was doing, and that shit over here. You wouldn't last 3 seconds.
That's because we're nice and subtle and quiet over here. But at the same time, they'll take your details, they'll record your face, and they'll put you in a database over here.
But over here, dude,
and they'll knock on your door 3 weeks later.
You'd be handcuffed and thrown in the back of the car, and you'd spend the day in a fucking cell.
Now, see here, this is why I'm like, okay, if it was a private building and you're acting up like that, I can tell you're not allowed back in here. But because it is a private building, like a public building, how could you kick someone out? So this is the problems I have between private and public.
And can I just also, I'm sorry to jump in, Trevor, but I'm agreeing with you in this case. But the whole point is, what is private? What is public? What is corporate? What are these things? Do we know? And we're told something, and we just accept it. I mean, where I put those stickers the other day for Mindset, there's a little sign there, tiny little sign saying, no photography here, this is a privately owned land. You've got hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of tourists taking pictures down there. But if they want, any time, they can just tell you to stop, and you're breaking the law.
Yeah.
Right? And yet, is it private? Just because they put a sign doesn't mean it is.
And I come back to like the law, like whose law? Like it's an opinion of a stranger down the road that you shouldn't do this. I'm more of a natural rights kind of guy. I'm like, look, am I breaking a natural law? I'm breaking a government law. So I've questioned police, and in Canada, not quite as bad. I've had a cop. I felt very threatened at one point. I thought, I'm going to shut up right now, or he's going to beat the shit out of me.
It is. It's violence. I mean, I've said this a million. Even when you have any interaction with the police, especially in the United States, even if it's just a normal, nothing happens, you're not harassed, you're not arrested, you're not questioned, just any kind of interaction, there is an intense air of violence in every interaction with them, because the slightest thing and violence will be committed upon you, and you have absolutely zero recourse. It will be done.
I wanted to talk about this too, because there has been stories here recently about people posing as cops or dressing up as cops.
Yeah.
And one thing that, they get caught or whatever, but one thing I saw in the media was like, well, you should always question a cop. You can question it. But I was surprised to hear the media say that. Because what if you do think it's not a cop? And you do question it, like you said, you don't know what could happen.
Violence.
Yeah.
Violence will happen.
There was another video I saw in England this week where a cop stopped, and the guy, I guess he was saying fuck or something. He said to the cop, "What fucking right do you have to stop me?" Well, the cop got back out and says, "I'll throw you in the fucking jail, and your asshole will get fucking stretched out."
Yeah.
Something to that effect. It was just happened I just watched it this week, somewhere it was England. And I thought, the guy said fuck, and the cop just stopped his car, got back out, and I thought, he's going to beat this poor son of a bitch on the sidewalk. He must have been
one of them country coppers.
He had like a yellow vest with black checkers on.
There are.
Dude,
you've got,
the cops,
in all things, there is a small minority of people that do try to do the right thing, but on a whole, vastly, most of the people in power are fucking like evil bastards.
They are.
It's a magnet. The whole profession is a magnet for a psychopath. Anyone who's a bit fucked up in the head, becoming a cop, it's a magnet. You can't resist, because you can throw your weight around and act like a fucking prick and get away with it.
We were talking about this, Gareth.
Go up to the average constable and ask him about common law and the law of the land, and he'll just like ask him about the English Constitution.
Yeah,
and you'll just get a blank fucking face.
So, Ben, you were going to say something? Go ahead, Ben.
It's just like we were talking about this before, weren't we? That, you and I both had a similar experience. Is that all the kids who were bullies at school, all the kids who used to like pick on the little kids. You look at what they're doing today. They're bouncers, or they're traffic wardens, or they're security guards. They gravitate towards those kind of professions.
They drive big white van.
Yeah, it's a psychopath mentality. Yeah, of course they're nobody. In terms of the powers that be, they're a piece of nobody, but they're just used by the powers that be because they just like pushing other people around. It's part of their. Yeah. It's part of what they get often. It's part of their desire, their psychological urge. And so the powers that be use these people. They use them just like they use the rest of us who don't want to push other people around. Right. They just get those that do want to push other people around push those around who don't want it.
The other day I was with my father-in-law. We were driving down the street, and this cop, what must have been doing, I don't know how far, he was fucking moving. And he went straight through a red light, and he turned the corner, and he shot up some street. He didn't have his sirens on or anything like that. Just, and I said to my father-in-law, I said, we should go follow him and give him a ticket.
Yeah, but of course they'll turn around and say, well, what are you going to do then, mate? Call the police?
Actually, I saw exactly the same thing. 3 days ago, I was at my dad's and I was walking to the local shop, and two police constables in a local, just a normal squad car. They drove straight through a red light. They had no sirens going or anything. Remember, these guys are in a car. If they haven't got the sirens going, they have to adhere to the traffic law as a normal. They're just a normal car, But I thought, who's going to give them a ticket?
Nobody.
He just drove straight through the red light.
Nobody. And I said, if I was doing what that cop just did, I would have been pulled over in a second.
But Alex made a good point. He said there are laws that are in place, and they choose when to actually enforce them. And there's lots of laws that are on the statute books that are never enforced. You can be hanged for pissing off Westminster Bridge in London. Technically, it's still on the statute books. But of course, it's not just about what the law is; it's about how it's selectively enforced, and this is an important point.
Here's the thing, though, Ben. You got to understand is like laws are just the ramblings of some fucking maniac pushing his will on somebody else. Laws only work and become reality if people go along with it. I mean, I could invent a law right now and say, okay, on Wednesday, everyone in the world must stand on one leg for an hour, and if nobody does that, what happens? Nothing. But
the truth of the law.
But if people do start doing, let's just say next Wednesday, en masse, everyone in the world stood on one leg for an hour. Well, then suddenly my lunatic ramblings about my law suddenly becomes official, real, solid authority.
This is the important point, Gareth. It's not just what the law is in terms of what it's written down as. It's the true course of the political world. And the political enforcement of the political class on the people can be tapped by watching not just what they write down in law, but how they choose to enforce certain laws and not enforce others.
Yeah.
For instance, we saw this with Helen Duncan, the famous psychic medium. She was actually prosecuted. She ended up spending almost a year in jail because through some law that had not been enforced for years, the Witchcraft Act of 1741.
Yeah,
I mean, this is an important point. I mean, they will enact any law they want to control us. Alex said that there's laws. You go to the tourist sites in London, they were saying, please, there's a whole list of official laws in the small print on posters and markers and everything saying what you can do and what you can't do. And of course, tourists do it all the time. But if one of us turns out with their camera and starts making a political statement, the police will come up and they'll say, you can't do that. There's a law here which says you can't, you see. This law here says you can't. That law says you can't. And you'll turn to them and say, well, look, people are doing it all the time. Well, I don't care. Well, we're pulling you in for this now. We're pulling those other people later, but we're pulling you in for this now.
Yeah, they pick and choose.
That's how they work.
They pick and choose. Now, I noticed Alex, you have another clip which kind of dovetails nicely in with this in regard to the state. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, this is a politician, and it does dovetail nice, actually. And I'm not mad on this politician, to be honest, but I liked his little speech, and I think just play. He's in the EU Parliament, I believe, when he's giving this, so he's talking to his whatever they are, his associates, but just other politicians, and yeah, just go ahead and play. I think.
Okay, here we go.
Well, Mr. President, I'm minded actually to quote the great American philosopher Murray Rothbard here, that the state is an institution of theft writ large. Tax is just about a system where politicians and bureaucrats steal money from their citizens to squander in the most disgraceful manner. This place is no exception. Fascinatingly, and I really don't know how you manage to keep a straight face when you're talking about tax evasion, the whole Commission and the Commission bureaucracy avoid their taxes. You don't pay taxes like citizens pay taxes. You have all sorts of special deals, composite tax rates, high tax thresholds, non-contributory pension schemes. You are the biggest tax avoiders in Europe, and here you sit pontificating. Well, the message is getting home to the people of the European Union. You're going to find that Eurosceptics are coming back in June in ever greater numbers. And I can tell you worse, as the people get your number, it won't be long before they storm this chamber and they hang you, and they'll be right.
That did sound like Nigel Farage. It's not him,
no,
right?
it's Godfrey Bloom.
Does sound like him.
Similar sort of where they're coming from.
And he's absolutely correct, though. I mean, taxation is theft. The people, the state is stealing from you.
Well, hey, just listen to what he's saying.
Yeah,
the people will storm the Parliament. They will hang them, and they will be right in doing so. Right now, just think. Okay, you got a few politicians. Let's say a few. I'll say 2 or 3. Just one hand, I could count them. How many times do you hear anyone speak like that?
Oh my gosh, it's
and we're meant to be in a
rare.
free bloody society, and all we have is people saying yes, no, and it's like, come on,
right, yeah, no, I agree.
It is beyond disgusting. It's just like you said with the JFK thing, how it's all talked about. It's an assassination on us.
Yeah,
we are being assassinated. Our minds, our lives, every day. All this stuff just piled on top of us, and we just accept it. And we should have not one politician. We should have half the bloody Parliament. More should be standing up saying what the hell is going on with our countries,
but they
our
can't
lives,
because
our people.
they are,
and what we have
they
is
are part
nothing.
of it, though, Alex. They are part of the problem. They're encased in this, and the minute they step out of it, then that's it. They're done. Game over. Later.
Yeah. And unfortunately, if I go a little bit further, I'll say then this person is obviously, he's allowed to do that because he is venting the steam, as you would say, with Ron Paul.
Right.
He's just that pressure cooker valve. But we should have voices. And when you get one or two people recording at a job centre, right? We didn't used to have that. 20 years ago, people wouldn't have been doing that. Now the world is changing slightly, and we are getting just one or two more. But we are becoming the voice now.
Yeah, the people's voice.
Yes.
Trevor, you were going to say something. Go ahead.
Well, is it okay? I'm thinking, this guy's like the British version of Ron Paul, but I think I'll clean my language up. What a hypocrite! Okay, you're talking about taxes and all that. How does he's a welfare whore because his paycheck is 100% stolen. Everything about that guy is. I laugh at politicians. It's great. Yeah, they bring out Murray Rothbard and. Well, I'm like, well, how do you get your pay? 100% of your income was stolen.
Yeah.
So you're saying it's a show.
I agree completely with you, Trevor. Right? Because that guy is in the House of Parliament. He isn't some poor dude struggling to make a living in the same way. He's using all the tax incentives he can get properly.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
But at least as well, he is another voice. We should still have these other voices, though, shouldn't we?
No, if this guy's going to talk, he should say, and you know what? From now on, I quit. I walk out. I quit. I'm going back. I'm gonna start a business. I'm gonna work for my money. Okay, because the government doesn't produce anything. He should go out and say, I'm going to produce something. I don't care if he wants to make T-shirts or something. And I'd have more respect. Like people are like, oh, Ron Paul. I used to argue with people, and finally now Ron Paul gave his last speech and he quit, and now he's back into the public. Christ, he's a multi-millionaire from his government days, so he doesn't have to work. But I'd have more respect for Ron Paul if he'd stayed a doctor and delivered 10,000 more babies and helped maybe save a few lives that way. Well, these politicians that talk like this, I'm like, people. I think people just start going, rally around him. Maybe he wants to be the next prime minister now.
Yeah.
And he's talking about Murray Rothbard. That bugs. I don't know. Paul, the enemy of the state, Mr. Murray Rothbard.
I mean, you're absolutely correct. I mean, taxation is theft. They are stealing from people because people have no choice as to whether or not they want to pay tax. It's not voluntary. You're forced to do it, and if you don't do it, there'll be acts of violence committed against you. It's bullying. It's a fucking what's it called? It's a racket. It's a protection racket in a way. It's like, you need to give us X amount of your earnings, whether you like it or not. You have to give us money so we can exist on your back. We are a massive parasitic organism that thrives on your work ethic.
I really admire
You're absolutely right. Absolutely.
Go ahead, Ben. You were going to say something.
I'm saying I quite admire Godfrey Bloom actually because he's a bit of a buffoon, but he's very honest and he's very straightforward, and he's not intimidated by political correctness. In fact, he's been in trouble lately in the news because he hasn't been politically correct enough. But I mean, I think UKIP. He's a member of UKIP, which is Nigel Farage's party. I think they haven't gone quite the whole way. They haven't quite understood what's really going on, and I mean, he talks about certain things. I mean, it's a big subject to go into, and probably too big to go into any detail. But I mean, he talks about hanging them. I mean, he talks about hanging and stuff like that. Well, I mean, the thing is, I don't agree that hanging is an appropriate punishment for these people. Simply because, not necessarily because I don't think they deserve it, because I think it's just what they've done is just too bad. The crimes that have been committed is just beyond what exists within the conventional legal system. I mean, they've done something that is so bad that it cannot even be prosecuted. It can't even be processed by the legal system as we know it.
A hot poker up the arse.
Even that wouldn't be. I mean, there's nothing I can think of actually that's bad enough.
Do you know, I also
punish these people with.
Just to add to that, and I also I respect what Trevor said as well on how the politicians, they could lead a different life if they were honest, as it were. But with the EU, just a separate angle on it. just imagine, for example, this is happening globally, obviously, but this isn't our country, okay? And I know countries don't exist and all that sort of thing, but that isn't. This is some state, some idea that was made up, and the rules and powers and whatever of our daily lives are decided by people somewhere else,
sure,
outside of our country. And just imagine, for example, in America, if that happened. Well, it's somewhere else that decides what happens in America.
I think it already is.
It already is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's being copied around the world, obviously. Yeah.
The EU is a complete fraud. The EU has never had its books, its income ever looked at. It's totally exempt from everything like that. It makes laws up hand over fist. It can enforce these laws to any of the EU states. It can also issue fines. These countries, we're pouring in more than £50 million a day of money into it.
Let me just ask you
an endless
something.
pot.
No, I'm not going to disagree with you, right? You're absolutely correct. But it's not just the EU; it's any government.
Well, any government, but EU is a blatant example.
It's all make believe.
If you want to know how corrupt a government is, look at the EU, and you'll get some idea.
It's all make believe.
What's a government?
Exactly. It's make believe. It's pretend.
No. What is a government?
What do you mean? I don't understand.
What does the word mean?
I don't know. Please explain.
Well, I don't know off the top of my head, but I'm just thinking, do they govern? Is not a government an institution for governing, for ruling a country?
It's a gang. It's a fucking gang.
A ruler.
It's mob. It's a mob rule.
What I'm trying to say is, although the principle is the same, the EU is bigger than a government. It overshadows governments.
I know, but
it's multiple countries all put under one umbrella and some super state.
Look at it this way, okay?
Yes.
So
you have to join if you want.
So you have a government.
If you want to be part of it, you have to join the EU too.
You have a government.
It used to be called the Soviet Union, for example. That principle. I mean, it's an exact copy of the Soviet Union. The Soviet was a union of many state countries. Okay, and now we have the same thing in Europe, which was set up not long after the Nazis.
So why does a government or a group of people have the right to demand to take your money, and if you don't, they can put you in jail? Where does that right come from?
I can answer that one because it comes right back to that first clip of that JobCentre.
Right.
People have got no idea what their rights are.
Right.
They've got no idea what the law is. And so they just go along when this person in uniform that happens to be the EU, for example, in this case, tells them what's going on.
Right.
You know what, Alex? Alex? A vast majority of them don't really fucking give care. They don't care. You go up to the average person and start talking about this kind of stuff, they're like, I'm not interested. Or they go away, I'm not interested.
But why is that, Reeves?
But it's like Mr. Prosser. Have you ever read?
Why? Why are they like that?
I think a lot of it is to do with society as a whole and the way it is today. Where most people are kind of happy in their little bubble and they don't want anything to disturb it. They just go along, they'll toe the line. As long as they can have the treats and lovely things that they have.
Right.
Their big TVs, their once a year holiday, the new car every 5 years. As long as that doesn't change, they'll just toe the line and run on the treadmill.
They're conditioned by culture and society. It's not that they're stupid or they can't think or they're retards. It's just that their cultural conditioning is so
talking about it?
Because we have broken our cultural conditioning. We're thinking outside the box, or at least trying to. We're still living in the box. Right,
you've got no choice.
And again,
we're still in the Matrix.
I'm just going to point out.
We're just aware of it.
It's relevant to the clip. This is beyond culture. Okay, this isn't a country with a culture. This is multiculturalism, imperialism. All right, this is being imposed upon many cultures of many countries, and it's we've passed a tipping point. That's the point here. But I think people are getting more information, and I think this sort of person, Godfrey Bloom, I don't really care about him, to be honest, but the odd voice like this seeps into people's mind, and then you get the odd person eventually going out to a job centre with their own camera. And the more we get these things, the more we're gradually getting back an awareness of what's going on.
Right.
Do you know summed it up pretty well? Douglas Adams, the author of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Now, I'm a big fan of the TV series of that, and Mr. Prosser, the guy who wants to knock down our...
Come off it, Mr. Dent. You can't lie in front of the bulldozers indefinitely.
You've seen it, Gareth. Yeah, he says...
I'm game. We'll see who rusts first. Look, I'm afraid you're going to have to accept it. This bypass has got to be built, and it's going to be built. Nothing you can do or say... What do you mean, why is it got to be built? What's a bypass? You've got to build bypasses.
Well, exactly. Why? He says, why is it got to be built? And it's a circular argument. But it's a bypass. You've got to build bypasses. And he's probably never even thought about it. And Douglas Adams, there's also the scene later in the series. It's better in the book than the TV series. But the Golga Frinchams, when they land and they say they have to there's things like, we got to declare war on the neighbouring continent, and this is why there's no one there. Says, but they will be one day, and when they're there, we'll declare war on them. And it's this idea that no one knows exactly why this system exists, and you can see it in the clip that Alex played.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
The person who's enforcing the law has no idea why they're doing it.
No clue.
They're just doing it. It's just like, well, I don't know. They haven't even thought about it.
Here is a very easy way to see the reality. We can draw back the curtains and we can see the nature of the world as it really is. All you need to do, anyone listening, is go to YouTube and type in Britney Spears without auto-tune. There is the real world. Okay? That is what the real world is really about. Your ears will tell you the truth. There you go. End of rant.
I wish we could have a de-auto-tuner for politicians. That'd be pretty cool. Just take what they said and de-auto-tune them.
Yeah, it would melt. The whole Westminster would just melt into the ground into a giant crater. It would implode on itself like a black hole.
Crazy. All right, then, guys, we've kind of reached the end of this week's show. Let's go around the panel and see where everyone can be reached on the internet. Let's start with Trevor. Where can you be found?
Oh, just look me up on Facebook. I'm on eBay. I got BigfootMountainSurvivalGear.com. I don't know, if you got some kind of fancy technology, you can see me in the forest, I guess.
Very cool. All right. Joe, where can you be discovered?
Well, you can check me out on YouTube. Some of my videos in the forest, getting lost out there. YouTube.com/FL Trailblazer. And then, of course, at Mindset Central. Go there and check out Mindset Radio Hour. A new episode just posted.
Very good. Let's see. Ben, where can you be found?
Hospital Porters Against the New World Order. HPANWO.blogspot.com and all the other associated websites. And Trevor, we've got to do something for St. Theo's Day, 1st of June.
I will. Now that I'm made aware of it, I like that.
Excellent. Who's left? Reeves, where can you be found?
Mindset Central, Paratalk, and sometimes I'm known to drop in and out of the Facebook group for Mindset as well.
Very good. And last but not least, Alex, where can you be found?
Just look me up, Alex Fate, on Facebook, YouTube, alexfate.com, and keep an eye out for me nearer Christmas because I'm planning something interesting.
I knew it. Alex is Santa. He is Santa Claus. He's Father Christmas.
Our curiosity
coming down your
is,
chimney soon, Reeves.
Oh my! Oh Lord! Oh golly! I don't have a bloody chimney.
Make a trip to Florida too.
Yeah, he'll be coming out of Reeves's flower pot.
Oh Lord!
Oh. Well, thank you so much, guys. Great conversation as always. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and we'll be back next week with more talk, more discussion. But until then, farewell, good brothers.